Alright, so this is a short video on just making some starbursts or stars for the background. So I've created a template. It's like a texture pack. We've talked about this in class. Just of different stars. I've created a star, just 9 across, and then I just duplicated it out, added Gaussian blur just to create that sense that it's glowing a little bit, right? And I saved it off as a JPEG. And then just like we did with the coffee cups, basically I created a square, just one square at first. And on that square, actually just on all of these, I created a Lambert. And on that Lambert, I plugged in that JPEG, right? So I have this Lambert here. And I just plugged in the JPEG into the color, right? So I can see each of these. Now, I've already placed their UVs. So basically, each one of these tiles goes over top of one of the different starbursts, right? So they're individual objects. So I can go around and move these around if I wanted to once they're done. Now, I suggested the surface material or the surface shader, but that actually doesn't work in Redshift. Maybe it never did, but it won't actually give you the cutout. So I was thinking that maybe this could work, although you're gonna have to do some testing, but I think it might be a pretty good alternative. And essentially it's just using a Redshift incandescent material. And all we have to do is just drag and drop this into the alpha channel, and it'll automatically cut this out. So white being the stars and black being the background. We don't need to turn on shadows or anything like that. And basically this is going to go onto here. So assign material. Right now we're not going to see it in the viewport, but if we were to do a render, we'll see it here, right? And it seems to render pretty darn fast. Now, if we're going to have more than just the one, though, we might want to use a sprite material. And we should be able to just pipe this into a sprite material. So if I bring up Redshift Sprite, and I'm just going to drag this into the shader. For the image name, I'm just going to put the same star material. Now, it might not let me grab it that way. So what I'm going to do is just copy the name from here. I'm going to paste it in here and hit enter. There it is. Is it? Let me just grab it just to be on the safe side. There it is. And let me select my objects with this old material, and I'm going to apply this new material to it. Cool. And let's render it again. Now it should be considerably faster, especially if we're going to have more than just 9 of these. So the next thing I wanted to try to do is, what if we could randomly place this throughout our scene? And I've been using that MASH network a little bit more, so I just wanted to experiment with that and see what we can get. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to center everything. So with my V or X key, I'm going to center everything to origin. So all 9 of them, if I were to like do a render, all 9 of them are directly on top of each other right now. I probably also want to go through and label these. Now I'll just do this really kind of quickly. So I'm going to replace P plane with star geo. All right, and then 1 through whatever, but I think that's okay. So let me just delete history on this. Freeze trans. All right, good stuff. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to go up to the MASH network. So that's under Effects, MASH, Create MASH Network. And I'm going to go back up here again and just go to, where are we here? MASH Editor. There we go. All right, so now that we got this, now what do we do? So again, I'm experimenting. I'm not 100% sure, but let's go into the MASH ID first, because we're probably going to want to randomize everything. And then we're going to go into the distribute, and let's try a couple of things. Now there's a couple different options. There's like just a radial array, which we're not really just going to use a radial array because we want these randomized in space. So I'm thinking maybe spherical. So if I were to go spherical, it's actually creating a sphere of these images here, right? And essentially I just want to increase the radius. Let's go maybe 50. And then increase the numbers. Let's go like 5,000. Now the cool thing is that these are all instant, so that means it's going to render pretty darn quick. Now, you know, if your camera is away here, we can't just see the side of these. So I think there is a way we can change the angle of these. Let's see. Now, if you can't change them here, you can always just go back to the original image, right? So depending on where your camera is, you could just go back to these original guys, which are at origin, and you should be, there we go. You can just kind of rotate these towards whatever your camera is, right? But let's just say this is the camera, and let's do a test render, see what happens. Yeah, see, look, instant star field, right? And each of those has, they look like little dots right now, but you know, if you had a higher resolution, this is only 560 maybe, I don't know. It's a very low resolution image. So if I were to go in 540, 560, if I were to go into HD, and let's render this again, see what it looks like. Right, so you're going to be able to zoom in on that and see all of the individual stars you made. They're all randomized in there. So that's kind of cool. Right. Now you could, you know, make some brighter and fainter just directly in that Photoshop file. I mean, that's an option as well. Another thing you could try doing is just changing the mesh network so that, you know, we have this radius of 50, but maybe I want them bigger. Right, so I could go in with it maybe a smaller radius. Right, and then they're just going to be bigger in frame. Maybe I don't need that many. They're going to be bigger. Cool. All right, they look kind of glowy. Now, you know, with that texture that we put on them, if I were to go over to that texture, what happens if I increase the incandescence? Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea. I just want to see what happens though. It just makes them brighter, but maybe that's not necessary. We probably don't need double-sided on either. That'll make it a little bit faster. There we go. Cool. Anyhow, that's one quick way we can do this. All right. Let me know how it goes. Okay, cheers, bye.